How legendary was Wen Xuan's life, and what were his final achievements? Wen Xuan, the first figure to give Shaoyan a significant background, held great prestige across the entire central continent. Not only was Wen Xuan the deputy pavilion master of the Starfall Pavilion, but he was also the most renowned and experienced of all the Zuns in the Four Directions Pavilion. However, the brilliance of Wen Xuan's current achievements was merely a reflection of his legendary life. Wen Xuan's real name was Fan Xiang, and he was the young master of the Fan family, one of the three great families in Wulong City of Central Continent. Born into a life of luxury, Fan Xiang lived a life of wealth and ease from a young age. As a result, despite having mediocre talent in cultivation, when he first appeared, he only possessed the strength of an 8-star doshi. The Fan family's rare treasure auction house faced suppression from both the Tieyi Pavilion and the Jiuxing auction house. As the young master, Fan Xiang sought to break the deadlock by traveling to Nanya City to acquire a fire Kirin horn. It was during this period that Fan Xiang coincidentally met Yao Lao, who had just escaped from the Yao clan. Seeing Yao Lao in the shabby clothes of a beggar, Fan Xiang felt a surge of sympathy and shared his lunch with him. This act of kindness led to an in-depth collaboration between Yao Lao and the Fan family. Yao Lao, with his superb alchemy skills, helped the Fan family overcome its crisis. However, what no one expected was that Yao Lao's arrival not only saved the Fan family, but also led to its eventual destruction. At this time, Yao Lao's alchemy skills were already capable of overturning the entire structure of Wulong City. In order to prevent the Fan family from rising with Yao Lao's help, the Miu family sent a Do-Won powerhouse to massacre the entire Fan family. Only Fan Xiang survived, saved by Yao Lao. In order to make Fan Xiang bide his time and not seek revenge immediately, Yao Lao promised, as an alchemist, to help the Fan family exact vengeance within 10 years. Ultimately, Yao Lao's sincerity moved Fan Xiang, who temporarily set aside his hatred and followed Yao Lao to gain strength. In the next 3 years, Fan Xiang, much like the later Shaoyan, spent his days battling magical beasts in the deep mountains to improve his combat abilities. During this period, Yao Lao specially prepared medicinal baths for Fan Xiang. After several immersions, Fan Xiang's meridians, Do Qi, and other talents gradually became stronger. Despite his previously mediocre aptitude, what was even more remarkable was that during this time, Fan Xiang became the target of the demon race's scientists for practicing the charm technique. Under the constant temptation of feminine wiles, Fan Xiang actually saw through such seduction, evolving from a spoiled young master into a true man. 3 years later, with Yao Lao's careful help, Fan Xiang elevated his aptitude to the level of a top-tier genius. Though he had barely reached the 2-star Do Ling stage, he managed to kill a Do-Won from the Miu family by using 3 different Earth-tier Do techniques. This act of vengeance successfully avenged his family. After avenging his family, Fan Xiang felt relieved. Yet he knew that without Yao Lao's help in enhancing his aptitude, he would never have been able to cleanse the deep blood feud or even escape being hunted down by the Miu family for the rest of his life. It was because of Yao Lao's many acts of kindness that Fan Xiang regarded Yao Lao as his closest brother, listening to him without question. Not long after, Fan Xiang presented a great gift to Yao Lao. After successfully avenging the Miu family, Fan Xiang brought back a prisoner who had once lived in the dead domain of the fallen god Ice Plains. The prisoner revealed that the 11th ranked exotic fire on the exotic fire list, the bone spirit called Fire, was hidden in this dead domain. Upon learning this, Fan Xiang immediately told Yao Lao, the alchemist, about this information. Moreover, in order to repay Yao Lao's kindness, Fan Xiang accompanied him to the fallen god Ice Plains. Over the 8 years of training in the fallen god Ice Plains, Fan Xiang not only helped Yao Lao acquire the bone spirit called Fire, but he also advanced to the peak of the Do One stage after surviving numerous deadly encounters. A year after, they returned to the Pure Tower from the fallen god Ice Plains. Yao Lao, in search of his beloved teacher Han Shenshen, and to establish his own power within the Yao clan, with the guidance of his master Shao Jinghe, officially established the Starfall Pavilion. At the beginning of the Starfall Pavilion's founding, Yao Lao handed it over to Fan Xiang to manage. Fan Xiang did not disappoint Yao Lao's trust. For the next 10 years, as the leader of the Starfall Pavilion, Fan Xiang provided continuous assistance to Yao Lao. Yao Lao had caused a lot of trouble for Fan Xiang back then, but wherever Yao Lao went, he expanded the influence of the Starfall Pavilion. Though this forceful expansion spread the reputation of Yao Lao as the continent's #1 alchemist and helped him make numerous connections, it also earned him many enemies. Fortunately, Fan Xiang used his diplomatic skills to gradually make the Starfall Pavilion even more powerful, so much so that even a giant force like the Soul Palace did not want to deal with the Starfall Pavilion lightly. A year after the rise of the Starfall Pavilion, the light and shadow space left behind by the ancient Tuoshi Emperor opened. In order to obtain its treasures, Yao Lao and Fan Xiang chose to explore this place together. During this journey, Yao Lao obtained the invincible Golden Finger Burning Decision, while Fan Xiang acquired a set of Do techniques for weapon refining. Later, with the various weapon refining materials obtained by Yao Lao in the space, Fan Xiang's weapon refining skills progressed rapidly, eventually becoming a master weapon refiner. To thank his close friend for years of help, Fan Xiang specially crafted a soul-warming and spirit-nourishing ring, the Bone Flame Ring, for Yao Lao. By wearing it for long periods, it would enhance one's soul perception ability, and in the future, this item would save Yao Lao's life. Soon after, Fan Xiang reached the 5-star Dozun level. During this period, however, he tragically faced a fierce battle with an old enemy and was left severely wounded, nearly dying. Fortunately, Fan Xiang managed to break through with the help of the Yin-Yang Zhuang Dragon Pill, reaching the Dozun level 7 years later, becoming Winzuan, a name that shook the central continent. Since Fan Xiang's breakthrough and subsequent rise relied on the Yin-Yang Zhuang Dragon Pill crafted by Yao Lao. In order to remember this gratitude, Fan Xiang changed his name to Gu Ling using the Ling from Bone Spirit called Fire. Unfortunately, not long after, Gu Ling's dear friend Yao Lao was secretly plotted against by Han Fan and Niu Gu Lao, ultimately dying with hatred. During the several decades after Yao Lao's death, Gu Ling continuously searched the continent for any news about him. He even clashed with the Soul Palace multiple times over this. Sadly, even though Gu Ling had identified Han Fan as the killer, he could not gather enough evidence, and the matter ended with no resolution. However, Gu Ling never gave up searching for his friend. He firmly believed that his beloved friend must have left behind something, and would not have perished so easily. When the new Four Directions Pavilion Conference began, Gu Ling had not only cultivated to the 4-star Dozhuan level, but he also received the long-awaited news about Yao Lao. When Xiao Yan revealed his identity as Yao Lao's disciple, using the Bone Flame Ring and Bone Spirit Cold Fire, Gu Ling began to treat Xiao Yan as his disciple. Even though Xiao Yan was a deeply flawed person, Gu Ling resolved to protect him at all costs. Under Gu Ling's intimidation, the Fan Lei Pavilion, who had past grievances with Xiao Yan, could only choose to retreat. After the Four Directions Pavilion Conference, Xiao Yan explained to Gu Ling the cause of Yao Lao's death and the current situation. To rescue Yao Lao from the Soul Palace, Gu Ling began to secretly investigate the Soul Palace's information. Upon returning to the Starfall Pavilion, he also contacted old acquaintances who had some connections with Yao Lao. Unfortunately, when they learned they were going to confront the Soul Palace, they were all somewhat fearful and regretted. In the end, only the Iron Swordsman, a solitary figure, agreed to help Gu Ling. After the appeal conference ended, Gu Ling, Xiao Yan, and 8 others made their way to the Soul Mountain Range to rescue Yao Lao. They ultimately succeeded, but at the cost of the Iron Swordsman's life. To prevent the Starfall Pavilion from being retaliated against by the Soul Palace, Gu Ling chose to close the mountain gates and remain secluded, while assisting Xiao Yan in resurrecting Yao Lao. During this time, Gu Ling also returned the position of Pavilion Master to Yao Lao, and with his diplomatic skills, he recruited the Little Doctor and 3 others, as well as some old monsters who had a good relationship with the Starfall Pavilion, making them honorary guests of the Starfall Pavilion to strengthen its overall power. Later, as the Starfall Pavilion grew stronger, Gu Ling led it to defeat the Ice River Valley of the Tianming sect and the Fan Lei Pavilion, making Starfall Pavilion one of the most powerful factions in the Central Continent. As the Starfall Pavilion continued to grow, Gu Ling, as the true decision-maker, found his responsibilities increasing, yet he handled everything in an orderly manner. When Xiao Yan established the Tiafu Alliance to counter the Soul Palace, Yao Lao dispatched other elders to take over Gu Ling's previous duties, leaving him in charge of selecting the Central Continent factions to join the Tiafu Alliance. Gu Ling thus joined the Tiafu Alliance as a core member. After Xiao Yan and Yao Lao ascended to the Grand World, Gu Ling would likely take charge of most of the Tiafu Alliance.